Well, hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm back, and I hope you guys are doing fantastic out there. In this video, we're going to take a look at a Coleman Powerhouse. Now this one I got on eBay, and it's going to need a lot of work. This one is from October of 1986. It did come with an extra valve and air stem, so very cool. But when I got the tank out of the package, I noticed that the generator, see the generator here is angled incorrectly, and also if you look at this, the inlet for the tank is like bent. So I'm gonna have to bend this back to get it straight up and down. That's the first thing I'm gonna have to do. And I don't know what else is gonna be involved in fixing this stove, or if I can even get it going. But knowing these Coleman stoves, how they're built, I think it's possible. So when I open this up, you can see that the box itself is in good shape. The grate is in good shape. There is a lot of rust inside though, so it's going to need some pretty heavy cleaning. My first plan of attack is to try to get this tank straight. It might be best if I put this in a vise instead of trying to use like the leverage of a crescent wrench or something like this and pulling this back, which could work, but I just don't think I'm going to have enough purchase on it to bring this back. I'm also noticing that where the knob goes, the screw goes inside the knob and holds the knob on. That's broke off inside of there. So I might just put this in there. It's included, and this one is probably still fine if you don't have a screw and you just stick a knob on there and maybe put some super glue or something on it. I don't know, but first step, let me get that vise and we'll see if we can't get this tank at least straightened out. That thing is crooked. That stem there coming out of the tank, so it needs to be bent back. I don't know if this tank is ruptured. There's no fuel in here, so we're gonna start there. Let's see if I can't get this thing bit down in there real good. Since this is the old valve, I'm going to try to use that to kind of tweak this tank back. Yeah, so far it's looking like it's going to work. I didn't put that much on it. I'm going to grab another bite here, a little bit deeper of a bite, and let's see here. There we go. How's that look? I think that's good. I think I got it straight. So that actually worked better than I thought. That went pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and just take this valve out while I'm here in the vise. This is the best way to remove these valves out of tanks, and that's you put this in the vise and you turn the tank. So let's see if I can get this to turn. There we go. See if we can spin this around. It looks like the angle of everything is good, so I think we're gonna have some success here. This is, I just absolutely love working on these old stoves. This one's, like I said before, it's October of 1986. So there we go. Let's pull that out. Does the lighting lever work? Yeah, it does. That little thing comes up. So I could slap a knob on there if I wanted to. The generator looks like it's loose, so I'm already pulling the generator apart. Okay, fair enough. Not too bad. So it might not take as much work as it seems. I'm going to bite this nozzle here, since I have the vise out here. I'm going to try to remove this nozzle. Take this generator apart and see if it's dirty or what's going on here. Is that going to turn? Yeah. So far so good. I'm actually pleasantly surprised right now at this. It's working okay. So let me pull this out of the vise and see if I can't get a crescent wrench on it. I just want to take this nozzle off and see what inside this generator looks like. So see if it's corroded. Is it clean? Is it dirty? What is it? This is all part of just going through the stove, going through the unit and seeing what's going on, because the majority of the work in these stoves is in this valve system here, the air tube, and the generator. Of course, the cap and the tank. I got the tank, what I think is squared away. So yeah, looks like we have is the spring gonna come out? Don't know. Sometimes these springs come right out and sometimes they don't. I mean, it's moving around in there, so I don't think we're that far away from getting this spring out. Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to push really hard with the screwdriver trying to get this spring out, because if you do that you're going to just compress the spring and make the situation worse. So I mean, you can push gently, but don't put all your effort into it. I'm also looking at this nozzle and I'm looking to see if I can see light through it, and hopefully you can see that on the camera. See the light coming through the nozzle there? So we know that the orifice of the nozzle is clear. Another thing that we can do is take a look at this rod and this needle. This is really important, this needle here on the end, and that's intact. So you can also take that needle and run that in right here and see if it'll go inside the nozzle. There we go. It went in there, no problem. So we know that the nozzle is clear. I can see the needle barely sticking out of the top of that nozzle. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. I can feel it with my finger. So that stuff all looks good. Normally you'll find on this stem, on this little rod, you'll find all kinds of carbon buildup, and there's not really a lot on here. I'll drag a little bit of steel wool across it, but this is actually very clean, this portion of the generator. So that's good. I don't have much work to do there. That's pretty clean. So I'll set that aside where it's not going to be damaged or bumped into or anything like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pump itself and the cap. We'll pull the cap off, look at the cap. What kind of condition is the cap in? It's definitely been compressed quite a bit. You can see a ring around the center of it. Let's take our flathead screwdriver and take this little retainer clip off. And then we'll get inside the pump. We'll take a look at that. I just love working on these stoves. There we go. That's what that piece looks like. We'll set that aside. Now we can probably pull this thing straight out. Okay, so it has the new style pump cup. It's not leather, it's that plastic one. So that's good. They put the new style on. I like the leather better myself, but hey, this isn't bad. We'll clean this up. It's dry. As you can see, it's dry, so that's not very good. I'm going to blow air through here so it's clear. It takes air through it, and again, you can look through it if you put some flashlight behind it, you can see light through there, so you know that it's clear. So that's a good sign. Everything so far is looking good. You've got your little air stem that can come out, and that looks like it's in good shape. That's probably the original paint from 1986. So what we'll do at this point is we will look at our check valve removal tool, and you've got two different threads. You want to find the one that corresponds, that's the same thread pattern as the needle here, the air stem. So that would be this one right here. Look down inside of there. You see that little check valve down in there? That's what we're aiming for. So we're going to take this, put it right in the middle, thread that down on top of that check valve. We'll put our check valve removal tool on that. There we go. Spin it around until we find it falling into place. So we'll put the washer, follow it up with that little nut. Now we'll take our big crescent wrench with a lot of leverage, and we'll break that check valve loose. We want to see, what does this check valve look like? Not bad. It's actually very clean. Wow, I'm surprised at how clean that is. So I'm going to take it off the tool for just a second here. But the way a check valve works is it lets air go in but not out. So I like to try to blow on the part that's inside the tank, and it should not let air out. Yep, I get nothing. But if I blow this way or suck here, it lets air in. So this is a good check valve. So we'll just put it right back in our little tool here. But while we're in here, there's one more thing that I want to look at. So we're looking inside at the walls, the side of it. I don't see any damage. I don't see any like big scratches or anything like that. So that's a good sign. You can also use your finger in there. Just be careful not to cut your finger, but you can put it in there and kind of feel around. And if you feel like any scratches or anything bad, you'll feel it with your finger. But I don't feel nothing like that on this one. It actually feels pretty good. So let's go ahead and paint the threads on the check valve, and we're going to put that right back in. And we're pretty much done with this portion. It's important that you don't get any paint on the area where the ball is. That would be terrible. So we'll get that. We'll stick that right down in there. And we're going to just thread it down in until it stops. And then we'll give it a little cinch. It doesn't take much. You don't have to over tighten these. It's brass going into steel, so you don't want to tighten it too much. So let's go ahead and pull this out. Pull the check valve tool out, pull the stem out. And now we can take this check valve removal tool and put it back in the toolbox. Okay, from here we're going to put the air stem in right in the middle of the check valve. We're going to thread that guy in there a little bit. Now we'll take the pump, put it over the air stem. Take your time here, don't get in a rush. There we go. Take a couple drops of oil and just put the oil on there. Nothing too crazy. And now we'll put this little retainer on. Line this up so we can put the little clip on there. So the clip just goes right there in that little hole. Boom, got that. Now let's come around to the front and put the clip in the hole on the front. There we go. Now our pump is in place. Everything's looking good so far. Yeah, that feels like it's probably going to work well. So I'm going to go ahead and use this new valve that they've got. I want to make sure that when the lighting lever goes up, that the little thing protrudes out. Okay, that means that it'll be sucking vapor from this hole here, from that hole. And then when the lighting lever goes down, watch this little stud, it should get out of the way. So that's working. That feels like it's working just fine. You don't have to paint the threads on yours if you don't want to, because this is a tapered fitting, but I like to do it, so I do it. Some people follow me on this and do it, and some people don't. So it's really up to you. Whatever you choose, it's really your call. So we'll thread that guy in there. Find the threads. There we go. Just tighten it down a little bit. Now what we want is we want the lighting lever, if we have the tank facing the stove the way it should be, that's where the generator comes out, so the lighting lever needs to be in this orientation here to the left. So I'll turn this with this big wrench here, see how it feels. It doesn't have to be super tight. I think I'll go one more turn here, because that was still a little bit loose. So yeah, that's feeling pretty good. We'll get that up there, and then we'll stop when we get into position with this lighting lever. We're getting close. So let's go the backwards way here. Push that thing. That looks pretty good. So now this thing is straight. Looks good. Lighting lever works. Everything works good. There, I got the tip of that thing red hot. Just drop it in there. Ooh, there we go, it quenched. When you drop it in the water and you quench it, you'll see all kinds of carbon and stuff come off. Okay, I think the spring is very close to coming out. So I'm going to put it in the vise here and see if I can gently persuade it to come out. Looks like I got it to come out. So let's take a look for the first time what this spring looks like. Is it corroded? No, it's not actually. It's actually very clean. Doesn't look bad at all. And I'm looking inside of this pipe. We'll look down in there, and what we're looking for is any kind of carbon buildup inside of that generator, and I don't see a lot. That actually looks pretty clean. So if you have a pistol, like a 22 caliber pistol brush, you can put that in there, and that usually works pretty good to get anything out of there that might be in there. But this is actually surprisingly clean. Now what you could do is go in and out like this with the spring, and sometimes if there's any carbon inside the generator, you'll get that carbon out. Don't worry about the paint on here, because it actually does a good thing. And I know that there's people out there that are going to say, well, that paint's just going to burn off, and you're 100% right. But what it'll do is it'll leave like a little burn, like a little carbon residue, and that carbon residue will be stuck between the threads, and that will keep things from having air leaks, which eventually ends up being lack of gas leaks. You don't want to go like crazy on this thing. You'll just tighten it down until it kind of gets you a little bit of resistance, and then that's it. Don't need to go crazy. From here, we need to get this little stem off of this valve. So sometimes you can grab it and go counterclockwise and unthread it. Because on the new valve, we'll be able to put this one in there on the new valve. So it's really nice that they just thread in this little needle itself. Be very careful that you don't bend this needle, because you got really tiny little threads there, and also on the other end you got that tiny little needle, so don't want to damage any of that stuff. So we're just going to thread this right in to that valve inside. Just got to be super careful when you tighten it. You don't want to bend it. Don't want to damage it or bend it. I'm going to take this little knob off, and I'm going to take this valve out, and then I'll try to put the generator on. So we're just pulling this whole thing out. Let's get that knob, and we'll go pull this whole valve out. There we go. Now, this is a stove that I won on eBay, and it just needs a little TLC. There we go. That looks good. So now we'll take this and insert the needle inside. Be very careful. That is a touchy spot. We'll get to the threads here, and then we'll just start threading that bad boy on. And of course you can pull the knob off and start taking this nut on. Just remember, this is tightened to fill, so the fill is going to be the knob and how free or how hard the knob turns. So if your knob is real loose, you'll tighten it a little bit more. It'll go up against that packing, and then yeah, that feels really good actually right there. Got nice resistance. If it's too loose, you know, you give it another turn. I'm going to go just a hair more. Something like that. Yeah, that feels good. If you got any kind of fuel leaks or anything around any of this area where this packing is, you can always tighten it down a little bit, and that'll help, because that packing will tighten around that shaft, that valve shaft, and it'll take care of it. So now everything is pretty much ready to go with this part. The lighting lever works, the valve is nice, I got good tension on it, everything feels good. So I think this portion of the stove is pretty well done. Take my little coffee filter, and I'm going to put some low octane gasoline in here. We're going to use this as our fuel. This is a large tank. It holds a lot of fuel. Coffee filters work very good for pre-filtering fuel into the tank, and especially if you're dumping the old fuel out of a tank or something like that, and it might have dirt or rust or something in it, running it back through a coffee filter, you could actually reuse fuel in a lot of cases. My objective right now is not to be like worried about how this thing looks or clean it. I'm worried about getting it functional. I'm going to try to bust this loose. It's not going to do it, so it's going to take some work. I'm going to have to put some penetrating oil on there. I'll start with just some standard oil. I'll just put a bunch of just regular oil on there. Now what I will do right now though is I'll take my air, and I'm going to run air through here just to see if I got airflow coming through, which I do. So the stove might work, and I might need to just come back to this. I think the heat of actually getting this thing burning and stuff might make it where I can loosen these up another time. Now if I put the air in there and I didn't feel air coming out of the burner, then I would be at a standstill right now, and I would have to get that screw off, because sometimes you get spiders in there, mud daubers, they put their little nests. But the only reason I'm able to move forward is because I felt air coming out of the burner. I'm probably not going to have a beautiful flame. I'm expecting like kind of a half flame or something. I'm not sure. We'll see here in a minute. I'm opening this auxiliary to see what it feels like. The auxiliary feels okay. These are little 3/4 washers. They're about 1/8 of an inch thick. They have a 5/16 center hole. I'm going to put that inside of the cap here. So I'll just set that down on the table here on the bench, and then I just press that little washer in. And these work good when I'm testing stoves. They also work good if I'm going to take off for like a weekend trip or something like that, but I don't use these for the long term, but they are a good temporary fix. So I have plenty of fuel in the tank now. I'm going to go ahead and put this cap on, and we'll see if we can get this thing to go. Let's go ahead and pump this up and see if this tank even holds air. I'm going to start with about 30 pumps. Alright, let's check that check valve and see if we got any pushback. We don't have any pushback, and when I say pushback, I'm saying when I have my thumb over the hole, if I get this thing coming out like that, that's a sign that my check valve ain't holding. So let's go ahead and close the air stem. Lighting lever is up. Let's put the tank on the stove itself. Put that in, and let's go ahead and see if we can get this stove lit and see what happens here. Turn the valve on. Let's see if we can get something going on here. There we go. Looks like we got it lit. It actually has a better flame than I thought, given all the rust that I'm seeing. So once I see the yellow flames go away for the most part, then I'll turn the lighting lever down. And at that point, we will be drawing liquid fuel. But we're not quite there yet. I want to take my time and let this thing prime really well. It does look like that burner is kind of funky. But maybe running the stove a little bit will help clean it out. So now I think I'm primed enough to lower the lighting lever. Let's get some liquid fuel involved. And we'll turn the valve up a little bit and just see what happens here. At the very least, we're going to be heating up that screw right in the middle. So this is just the first burn, just the initial startup. Okay, as this thing's burning, I'm just going to kind of scrape around the outside and see if I can remove any rust out of there. Look at that. Those flames ain't bad. They're actually not that bad. Not as bad as I thought, you know, given all that rust. So it's not too bad. They could be better, but hey, that's actually going to be a usable flame there, I think. It's not bad. Let's go ahead and try the auxiliary burner as well and see what that does. What does it look like? I want to take a look at that. We'll open this bad boy. There we go. Got the auxiliary on. Hey, it doesn't look bad. I'll go ahead and close the auxiliary and let's get back to this main burner. I'm just trying to get this thing, get this rust and stuff out of here, and hopefully we'll get a really good solid flame. I got plenty of pressure, as you can see. You can see the flames, they're separating away. So when you see that, I usually turn the thing down a little bit because we have plenty of power. But the main thing that's making me happy right now is the stove works. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, cleaning this thing up and cosmetic, but the fact that I have blue flames coming out of there, it probably hasn't been ran in a while because I got this stove pretty cheap. This little yellow flame right here that I keep seeing, I think it's deeper than just the fingernail polish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this for a minute. I'm going to blow this out, put the lighting lever back up, and then I'm going to tighten that tip just a little bit more because I think it's not tight enough. I think that's why we're getting that little yellow flame. So let's get these channel locks on there and let's tighten that baby down just a little bit more. That might get rid of that little flame that we're seeing there, that little yellow flame. So let's try that. Okay, I'm having some beautiful looking flames here. Even though they're still discolored a little bit, that's okay. I'm gonna go with this. 32 ounces of room temperature water. Let's put the grate down, get the timer ready, set that bad boy on there. I'm still getting some of those yellow flames, but it's not bad. We'll go ahead and start the timer, and we'll let this thing come to a boil and see how long it takes. Wow, we are almost there. We are just over 3 minutes. And we are almost at a heavy rolling boil. 312, that's impressive. 315, I'm gonna stop the time. 320, wow, look at that. That is a heavy rolling boil, so that's very impressive. Now you know why I like these 414, these Powerhouses. These are fantastic stoves. Even with a stove that's, you know, had yellow flames and all that. 320, that's a minute faster than other Coleman stoves. Let me go ahead and light this auxiliary. It's kind of acting funny over there, so we'll let this auxiliary burn for a little bit. That's impressive though. I'm very pleased with that. This flame that you're seeing right here is very powerful. And that's with the auxiliary on as well. These are absolutely fantastic stoves. And the fact that I picked this up on eBay and I got a smoking deal on it. So folks, my final thoughts are very simple. This stove is absolutely a performer. 3 minutes and 20 seconds to boil 1 liter of room temperature water. And this stove, I haven't even cleaned the burner yet. It still needs a little bit of work. I need to get that screw out, clean out those burner plates, put that back together, and I think it's going to perform even better. So if you look at these Powerhouse stoves on the Coleman website, they're $239. Right now, at the time of me filming though, they're having a sale where you can pick these up brand new for $179, I think is what the price was that I saw. I won the bid on this one for like $42. And it got an extra valve with it. I had to fix a dented tank. And I don't know if I'm even going to get into that burner. This thing is performing beyond my expectations already. So I might just call it a wrap and clean it up and put this thing away. I mean, it's fantastic. So I'm looking at the grate there, and the grates are red hot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to leave your comments down below. Like this video, share this video. And until next time, folks, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.